Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. Also be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. I'm so excited to have for the first time at the Italian Radio Hour world-renowned bass-baritone opera singer Glavin, who will talk to us about his newest CD, A Touch of Class, which features reworked classics from Frank Sinatra and many more. Joining in conversation, also Samuele Bozzolla, a personal friend of mine and also of the Italian Radio Hour, who has been our to-go-to person for anything related to opera, with stories and curiosities of not only the Pittsburgh scene, but also international singers like Luciano Pavarotti. So don't go away, stay tuned, my little pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring in person or online to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at istitutomondoitaliano.org. Benvenuto, Kevin. Benvenuto, Samuele. It's a pleasure to have you both together.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
It's nice to be back on your show.
Just some little curiosities that have brought us together. So obviously the friendship, I would say, between the two of you, how many years have you known each other?
Over 50.
Over 50, wow. Sometimes marriages even don't last that long. Kidding, bad joke. But I think it was probably a match made in heaven as far as, your friendship that started, when also Kevin's exposure to what it was going to be, what it turned out to be, and it is still a fantastic career in opera. But Kevin, just let's backtrack. That was not really your intention when you start music, and maybe let's see, what was, okay, this is where I get tongue twisted, where I have 1,000 questions and it's like, which one I'm going to ask first? Okay, let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
What type of music do you grew up with?
Certainly it wasn't opera. My father was in a thing called the Barbershop Singers, and they sang harmony, 4-part harmony. And he and 3 other guys had a chapter that they started in Pittsburgh, and now there are hundreds of guys that do it. And so I remember in church, I was a young boy, maybe 5 years old. I remember singing some Catholic songs to my family while my uncles were drinking and playing cards. They would ask me to sing the Catholic songs.
So those uncles that were drinking and everything. So did you also grow up with other genres of music that eventually might be also kind of a love that you rekindle with in this CD?
Correct. Yeah, it was in my early, maybe 12 years old, 13, when I started to listen to Frank Sinatra, and as we call them, the Rat Pack, with Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. And I really had an affinity for that music. I love it. And so I started singing that. I sang in high school choir. I was a soloist. And then I started singing that type of music. I sang the Toreador song at a concert. And just, that's when I started getting into Italian. But my passion was to sing in Vegas and have a cigar and hold a drink and sing these Sinatra tunes, and maybe meet those guys and sing with them. But then after that, I was 18 years old, and I needed a voice teacher. So there was a voice teacher that my choir guy director recommended, and her name was Nina Tober. And I studied with her, I think, 2 lessons. And then I asked her, "Who's your voice teacher?" My voice teacher is Claudia Pinza. And so I said, well, I want to go to your teacher. I don't want to study from the second fiddle. And so Sam can tell you the story because he knows the day I walked in to their house here in Pittsburgh, and I'll let him take over the story.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Kevin came in and, he went upstairs, and my mother, the first thing she would do whenever she had a new student, she would start with vocalizing the voice and hearing what kind of voice it is and things like that. So that transpired, and Kevin then sang a few songs, which I don't recollect what they were. And then, of course, after half hour, he left. So my mother came downstairs, and my father was in the kitchen, and he said, "Oh, that was a good voice." And my mother said, "Yes, absolutely, but I will not teach him unless he decides to sing opera versus Broadway and Sinatra stuff." So, because my mother was very stern about that. And when she found the talent, she knew that, why sing something that like Broadway when you can do opera and with that voice. So as the weeks and months passed, she convinced Kevin, and Kevin started to do more opera. And then, of course, his career took off. He won the Pavarotti competition when my mother introduced him to that. And after that,
And that's when I decided, after I started studying, we spoke a lot about what repertoire I was going to do, because I was more of a baritone at the time, and I could do some baritone rep. But looking at my body type and I love comedy, she said there's a thing called opera buffa. And so actually that is where I specialized. My whole career was in the basso buffo repertoire, even though I'm not a basso buffo, more of a bass baritone that can sing that rep. And I had a very good tongue to do the fast patter stuff.
Yes,
And
Kevin sang, the Bartolo and the Barber Seville, the Dulcamare and Elixir of Love,
L'Italiana,
Italian-
Cenerentola.
yeah, all those funny roles. And there he is. Yes, there he is.
for those of you watching us on YouTube, this is one of the two amazing pictures that I was able to find.
That's for Dr.
Yeah, that's not my real hair.
So how about singing with all that shaving cream all around?
Oh yeah. Well, I used to tell them to put it in my
Dressing
mouth.
half of it.
Yes, we made a bit about that stuff, but it was fun. We always had a good time. In fact, that role I did more than any role in my career, and that's really internationally the biggest role I ever did.
So actually, I have a question regarding when a performer gets into a role that has been played multiple times. I guess there is a degree of comfort with it, but also still the desire to innovate. Would you agree on that, or is it better just to stay on the comfort zone of something that you're very familiar with, or it really depends also on the production?
Do you mean another type of rep in opera, or
same role over.
doing the same role?
Yes.
Yeah, I always was able to create different characters within the opera. As you see, there's always different makeup and wigs, and each production's different. Some are done in the classical period, and then some are done the updated. And so I fit myself within that production.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about if we can go back to the past, and Samuele had already mentioned that you entered the Pavarotti International Vocal Competition, and you actually won best in 3,000 other competitors. How was that experience?
Well, it's funny, I was never intimidated by anybody, and but Luciano was for some reason, he really liked me, my personality. And as we sang, we did L'Elisir d'Amore together. That was the first thing. And then I sang Tosca with him. And, but I don't know if I could say this, but I will say it. You can maybe block it. A reporter asked him, he said, Maestro Pavarotti, what is it like singing with this Kevin Glavin? He's a comic. And that he said, Kevin, he makes me laugh so hard I piss my pants. Then they
And
asked me what it was like singing with him, and I said, ask him what it's like really to sing with me. So we joked around and we really had a great time. Oh, I got a great story about the Tosca. If people know the role of the sacristan, when I come out, I sing with the tenor and hand him brushes because he's a painter and he's painting canvas. And so I was doing it, and I was sempre la va, and I'm singing, and he goes, wait, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing the staging that we did. And he said, no, move further away. So I moved a little bit away. No, keep going. And I went all the way to stage left. And I was thinking, what are we doing? And he said, Kevin, we can't be close because we look too fat together. So I did the roll all the way over the opposite end of the stage.
It never happens.
No, because I couldn't hand him any brushes or anything.
So obviously, Samuele, some other insider stories that you can share because you can. So at what point did you maybe struck also your friendship with Kevin? Because obviously, it was.
It was fairly soon after he started coming, because he would come once or twice a week for lessons here. Because my mother usually, unless you were a student, she taught both at Pitt and Duquesne. Unless you were a student there, all of our lessons were done here at the house. So Kevin would come once or twice a week, and we just start talking, and one thing led to another, and then we just became friends, and that friendship has lasted up till today. And and Kevin has always been extremely recognizable of the assistance my mother had given him, which to me, it's very close to my heart, because sometimes singers don't do that. And
dai a Cesare quel che è di Cesare, and Kevin has paid give to Caesar what is due to Caesar. That's what we would say in Rome, and it's great to.
And the two of them worked well together, because sometimes a singer and a teacher, sometimes they don't work well together, because sometimes the teacher isn't able to to portray how to do certain things, or the singer isn't able to understand. And that was one of my mother's talents as a voice teacher. She was able to give the singer what he should or she should do, and the singer understood her ways. And I think Kevin learned a lot from that.
And I think, especially with the buffo repertoire, you have to really sing and get the words out, especially in the fast stuff. People understood what I was saying. A lot of the guys that do it, they sort of go, and I would go, I haven't done it in a while. But anyway, so she really was big on the diction, using the words in the music, where a lot of people teach just technique. So singers don't really learn how to speak forward, sing forward. And Italians speak, like, you can be speaking, and then all of a sudden you start singing, and then you can go back to speaking, and it's in the same placement. And there's where Italians have a different.
And Kevin's talent, one of his talents was when he sang, he sounded 100% Italian, even though he really doesn't speak Italian. But his diction when he sings is almost perfect. And that's not easy, because you have some of these singers, even today, that sometimes when they say things, they don't really pronounce it correctly, and sometimes that hurts the opera in itself. Like in Tosca, when she kills the Scarpia, she says, "Davanti a lui tremò tutta Roma." Well, I heard a couple of performances, instead of saying tutta Roma, she says tutta, and tutta in Italian is a jogging suit. So that kind of, if you know Italian, that kind of loses its oomph when you mispronounce things. But Kevin was
and that
excellent.
Really, I credit Claudia Pinza, because she really emphasized the double consonants and the proper vowels to sing, because a lot of Americans say "oh," and there's no O in Italian, or diphthongs on the end of words and things like that. So yeah, I credit her for that because she really instilled that in me. And then there's other, when we started going to Apcaso.
Yeah, Kevin went to my mother had a school in Italy called the Maestro Pinza Council for American Singers, and she brought student participants mainly from this country, and Kevin went over, I think, 2 or 3 times.
I went more than that.
More than that? Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. And the school was in Oderzo, which is a little town north of Venice. And they spent 6 weeks there and really perfected the Italian repertoire. That was
Right.
about.
That's where I learned most of the roles that I performed in my career over there. I learned them correctly. That's why my Italian was so good. And we worked with coaches and every day. It was great.
But Vivian, just to go back a second, you asked Kevin earlier about if he sings the same role over and over again. Is that something that is a viable thing, or something that you just after a while you just do it just to do it?
Oh,
my grandfather, just to give you an example of, and I think Kevin has this in him as well. He was the Don Giovanni. He was the Don Giovanni for I don't know how many years at the Met. And late in his career, my mother came into the room one night and he was looking at the score of Don Giovanni. My mother said to him, says, "Babbo, what are you doing? You know this role over and over again." He looked at her and he says, "Every time I look at the score, I learn something new."
correct.
Exactly. It's like
That's
almost.
Yes,
So when
now I
Kevin
get it.
sings
Yeah,
Barto and Barbara 100 times, the
Right.
101st time, he might see a nuance that he didn't do the 100th
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Every single time.
That shows the great artist. That's the artist. That's the person that really eats, drinks, and sleeps opera or whatever they do. It's anytime
you might be looking at the same painting in your house, and then whether the light comes in from a different angle, color, distance, or wherever, just your mood. And I was very privileged to actually have a little insight during the latest performance of La Traviata in Pittsburgh, and see how through also the different directions, whether it's the stage director or the orchestra director, even minimal changes have a great or a greater result. Obviously, to the benefit of the audience, where the role is fully mastered, that there is that ownership, that it just walks in on the stage right away. Talking about roles, and usually on a typical year, what would it be a comfortable number of roles that you would want to pursue without overdoing it? Because I'm sure also the voice, might need, I don't want to say resting time because it's always constantly trained, but is there something that typically a performer will aim for?
Well, I was a little different. For some reason, I could do many, many different roles throughout the year, and my voice was always in pretty good shape. I never really got sick very much during my career. And I know that I was doing Don Pasquale in Denver, and I would fly back to Ohio to rehearse Cenerentola. So I would do a performance, fly back, rehearse. I did that 5 or 6 times. And my voice never got tired. I sang out all the time. And I'm one of those singers. Some people, they call it marking. They don't really sing full voice in rehearsals because they try to rest their voice. But I always sang out. I don't know. It never bothered me.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it also depends on the voice type. I think his voice type is a little bit easier than if you're singing, let's say, a tenor. Like a tenor, it's hard for a tenor to sing the Barber Seville and then 2 days later sing Bohème.
Yeah, they're totally different animals.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it depends on the voice type as well.
Okay. Well, before we move to talk about a touch-up class, a few words from our sponsors. Applying for Italian citizenship? Need documents translation? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translations and assistance services. Be sure to visit us at istitutomondoitaliano.org and schedule your free consultation. Un caffè, per favore. My first cup of coffee sets the tone for my entire day, and I get my coffee at La Prima Espresso. La Prima has been brewing Pittsburgh's best coffee for nearly 35 years. Try any of their in-house roasted varieties of beans from all over the world at home, or come and enjoy an espresso or a cappuccino at any of their locations, where their friendly baristas and familiar faces will make you feel at home. Visit laprima.com to get La Prima Espresso coffee at your door. Or maybe talking about coffee, not necessarily coffee, but do you have a certain routine leading to a performance, or in the performance? We were laughing a little bit about some pasta preferences from Maestro Pavarotti. Actually, there was the episode of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell that was shot in Pittsburgh, where one of the questions that the contestants had to deem whether it was true or false, it was all about that. So I was wondering if you had routines, whether there were also scaramantic routines, or just, business as usual.
I think for me, I the day before the shows, I would just drink a lot of water and not speak a lot. And then the day of the show, I wouldn't talk to anyone because I really wanted to have my voice in really great shape when I was performing. And then they asked Pavarotti a question, and they said, "So, Maestro Pavarotti, do you drink alcohol?" And he said, "Before the performance, never. After, why not?" So I did like to go out after performances, and I would sing Sinatra music at restaurants and bars wherever I was all over the world. I just would break out into a tune. But so I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being in other countries and the people that I met. And but yeah, before the show, I really tried to be disciplined. After, why not?
Is there been any country or any audience that surprised you for their I don't know, greater appreciation of opera than you expected, or sometimes we go to other countries where we think we might get it warm, and we get an extremely warmer, and that kind of.
I loved Italy, and I think the Italians just appreciated my talent, and I love that because I was singing in their language, and but I sang all over
Beautifully.
South America. Yeah, but
You speak clearly.
I sang in France, and I don't want to diss the people of France, but it was not as warm, and I didn't really enjoy it. And I was there for 8 weeks, and I really wanted to leave. But everywhere else I sang, I did a show in Costa Rica. I did L'Italiana in Ogeri, and while I did something on stage that the audience just went nuts for about 15 minutes. They were laughing, and the conductor had to put his baton down until the audience calmed down. So that's a vivid memory of what I had. But I sang all over Canada, sang in China, and like I said, I sang all over South America, Central America, and the United States. And the audiences here, I think they accept anything. They're willing to, even if there's some productions I did I really didn't like very much, but they accepted it, and they thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. And Samuele and I, we have a little more we're a little more critical of our performances and things like that. So we look at it with a critical eye, where the audience is here, they just accept everything as being the greatest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah. Because today, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but today's opera world, a lot of times the performance is more based on the staging and the singing, right? And really, I mean, opera should be more the singing than the staging.
Right.
And sometimes I think the stage director gets lost in that staging. And sometimes I think he places the singers in positions that are hard for them to sing.
Well, yeah, and if you're trying to sing to a female and you're in love with her or whatever, sometimes a director will have you looking over this way while you're singing. You're supposed to be singing to the woman because they like the look, or they want to create something different rather than really looking at the score and what it really means.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say opera has changed in the last 20 some years in the way it's looked at and the way it's performed. So I don't want to say for the worse, for the better. It's just a different animal now than it used to be.
I think also the audience is changing, so is trying to find a balance between attracting new audience by injecting certain special effects, let's call it that way, that might, again, enhance the spectacle part of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, sure.
that
But
might, sometimes it works well, sometimes, again, either hinder or covers up the musical, component, the reason why we're actually going.
Mhm.
So from performing, where you have that direct rapport with your audience, and also the gratification, and kind of then curtain comes down, kind of show is over, to recording, a recording studio. I think there are two different beasts. And tell us a little bit now. Let's get into the birth of your CD, A Touch of Class, expectations of what this project was going to look and feel like, or even timelines, and then the concrete of what really happened.
Well, people throughout my career would tell me, why don't you sing that style of music that you love? And I said, well, I do it, but I never thought about recording it until recently, because I still have the voice to be able to do that stuff, which is, I'm 64 now, and a lot of guys my age can't handle that type. They get wobbles in their voice, and they don't sing as well. I was fortunate to be able to do it, but I was with my friends. I love these people, and a girl named Denise Harvey. She said to me, you should record this stuff. And I said, well, it costs a lot of money to record music, especially because I wanted a band to play, and that, it was a pretty tough thing. But she said, well, just go do it, and I'll help you. And that sort of gave me the, like, hey, maybe I could do this. So I found a studio in Pittsburgh, Tonic Studios, and I don't know, it started out, I said to the guy, listen, I'm going to go find some band members that I know some people. And he said, listen, I can put the whole thing together. So he got really great jazz musicians that they're all world class. And I put us all together. And when you're recording, you record the music first. So these guys would come in and they would hear the arrangement, and then they just started playing. And it was incredible how they came together when they were playing. And sometimes just a piano player would just come in and listen to the music and just play. So everyone was separate. And then I came in once the music was all put together, and I went in a booth, and you do the songs over and over and over, each song. And you have different lines. They'll do each song and put it on a computer, on a screen. And then they'll listen to every one of them, and then they'll pick out things that were really great on one, and they can move it up to the one that didn't sound as good. But I was pretty consistent when we were recording, so it was good, but it took a long time. We worked from March of last year to almost October to there's still things on it. Like Sam noticed a word in Volare that I mispronounced. I'm like, did he get it right?
So do we want to hear whether he got it right eventually or not?
Well, I got most of it right. There was just one word that I put the emphasis on the wrong situation.
Yeah. Una parola.
Okay, let's see what we got on my computer. I think we have a little bit of Volare.
Volare, oh, cantare, oh, let's fly way up to the clouds, away from the maddening crowds. We can sing in a glow of a star that I know of, where lovers can enjoy peace of mind. Let us leave the confusion and all disillusion behind. Just like birds of a feather, a rainbow together we'll find. Volare, oh, e cantare, oh. No wonder my happy heart sings. Your love has given me wings. Penso che un sogno così non ritorni mai più. Mi dipingevo le mani e la faccia di blu.
Good one.
Poi d'improvviso venivo dal vento rapito e incominciavo a volare nel cielo infinito. Volare, oh, e cantare, oh, nel blu dipinto di blu, felice di stare lassù. E volavo, volavo felice più un altro del sole era ancora più su, mentre il mondo pian piano spariva lontano laggiù. Una musica dolce suonava soltanto per me. E volare. Volare, oh, e cantare, oh. No wonder my happy heart sings. Your love has given me wings. Nel blu, dipinto di blu, felice di stare lassù. Nel blu, dipinto di blu.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it has such a beat. You just want to get up and dance, and
Yeah, well,
it's spectacular. And then also at some point, you can also picture Modugno saying those words. So it's your style. These kind of
correct.
mhm.
Well, I want it to be upbeat. And a guy named Johnny Hall, he's a very famous bass player. And he said, I'd like to do the arrangements for you. And so all of the arrangements were done by this guy. And he took my input. I didn't want it to be like Dean Martin sang it slower and it was more romantic. This is more of a dance tune and it has more life to it. And it's different, but I think it's just as
It
viable
works
as that.
beautifully. Yeah.
I think one of the talents that Kevin has is, throughout the years, in the last 50 years, there's been most opera singers have gone into or dabbled into this type of music. And very few know how to do it properly because most of them sing it in an operatic style and it just doesn't work.
Mhm.
Kevin, in this case, took that volare and made it sound like volare and not like an opera that said there's a volare. And so I think that takes talent to do that. And that's, I think, one of the positives of the CD, that it doesn't sound like an opera singer singing opera that is pop. It's really, it really is the pop, which again, most of the singers that I've heard aren't able to do that. Most of the operatic singers, like I'm saying Carreras Domingo, they just have a hard time doing that. So
Kevin, would you mind acknowledging also the other musicians that we heard? Because you mentioned about John Hall, who is that made the arrangements, and then it's your bass, right?
Yes, and then Joe Monroe is on the keyboards, and Christopher Wu, who you didn't hear in this tune, but he plays the violin. He's with the Pittsburgh Symphony. I think he's a great violinist. And a guy named Steve Derlock plays the guitar, and I love his playing. I think it's really clear and just beautiful. And now you're going to test me because the guys came in and out. That's Edwards, his first name.
Brian.
Pardon me?
Brian Edwards?
Yes, Brian, right. Yeah. Brian Edwards was the drummer. And he again, some of these guys have played, he played with Prince. And then Joe Monroe, he opens for Mick Jagger. Even today, his band opens for them. So, these guys have played around the world. And I'm trying to remember. You have the names, don't you?
I have a couple. I have
They came in and out, and I really
people-
didn't know them, but some of the guys we hung out together. But the one guy that played the horns, I can't remember his name. It was oh man, I just can't remember right now, but I bet you if you told me I could remember.
Well, that I can't help you because I only have
Oh, you don't
percussion
have the name?
and female vocals left. So
Oh, okay.
I go
Well,
for the female vocals, and again, Rick Matt for the sax, and you already
Yeah,
mentioned Christopher.
and there was a guy from Cuba that
Hugo Ruiz for
yes, Hugo,
percussion.
he's very famous. His family was very famous in Cuba, and he was incredible on the percussions. I mean, he put everything in, and on that song Volare, all that was all him. So it brought life to the thing.
So if you could, so I don't know, those uncles that uncle and ankle. I can't even pronounce it. Maybe I need
That's right.
Like
the first time.
Those uncles that you grow up with, smoking cigar and listening to this music. It would be nice, kind of now forward so many years. Kind of picture yourself as being the one on stage and then watching
Right.
performing.
Well, I love that lifestyle. They were really nice guys. They owned bars and some clubs, and every one of them smoked cigars. So of course I smoke cigars, and people ask me all the time, how can you smoke cigars and be able to sing? And I can't answer that because I just can. It doesn't bother my throat or anything like that.
Do you have, well, without getting into the any particular country that you enjoy their cigars from?
Well, I never, I was in South America. My favorite cigar is called a Bolivari. It's
Okay.
a really, I love it. I smoked a lot of Cuban cigars, but that's one of my favorites. And my everyday cigar is a Casa de Garcia, and it's Dominican. And so I smoke a lot of different stuff, but yeah, they're my favorites. And they're better on your throat because they cost more. If you smoke ones, that probably bothers you more.
Somebody did my mom had any opinions on that? Did she
Oh,
try?
yeah.
Well, she really couldn't have an opinion because her father was the singer. I mean, the rep for Chesterfields. So and so he made commercials for Chesterfield when he was at the height of his career. So my mother really couldn't, tell Kevin what not to smoke because her father was and there he is with the cigar and
It's kind of so tell us a little bit about this wonderful picture that you have. It has a little bit of a serendipitous background.
I was sitting outside of a restaurant in a town, Westview, which is outside of Pittsburgh.
I think I recognize the restaurant.
Yes, it's Severina. It's a great Italian bistro type restaurant.
Bistro type, yes.
And I was sitting outside, and this guy came by, and he said, "You look really interesting. You mind if I take your picture?" And I was like, "I don't care." So we took it, and I never even thought about it. But he came up to me later with an envelope, and this picture was in it. And I went, "Wow, that's a really good picture." Because it really captured me because that's what I really enjoy doing. Other than eating.
Yes, and I believe I do know the photographer because John is a familiar face in the Pittsburgh area, when there are galas and fundraisers and public events.
He's an incredible artist, I think. He captures just the essence of people. And I didn't know who he was until he took this picture.
So tell us a little bit about your downtime, and then when you are in Pittsburgh, born and raised, so you travel over the world, but it's nice to come home as well.
Well, yeah, I have a family. My wife Nancy and I were together before I met Samuele. We dated in high school, And I remember Signora Pinza used to tell me, why do you want to get married? Live with her, don't marry her. I thought it was funny. My wife did not.
And then you have a son, Sean, and
Kevin.
and
My son,
little doggy.
And who?
A dog.
A dog. Well, he's not a little dog. And
Oh.
I named him Moose after the role of Mustafa in L'Italiano Ruggeri. So he's so older now. He's 12 years old, and he's looking like it and acting. Of course, I am too. But we're more relaxed. And yeah, my downtime now, I like to sit outside, smoke a cigar, maybe go to a local pub, have a couple drinks with the guys, and I sing some of these songs also to the people around.
I was wondering, first of all, the website that I would like to mention before it gets to it's the kevingladin.org. That's where you can also get the album, but it's also on Spotify and Apple tunes. And will we see a solo show by Kevin? Is there any talk about it?
We're going to talk to several people. I have a winery in north of Pittsburgh that's interested in doing it. I have several like smaller bars. There's a place in Bellevue here that has a cabaret, and they would like me to go down and do that. And then we're going to meet with Franco from
Senti.
Yeah, Senti in Pittsburgh, in Lawrenceville, and so we're going to talk about maybe doing a show there. And this is what I want to do, and I want to develop it and do more, if I can. And then I still am. I was out of opera for 4 years, and this guy called me Chuck Hudson, who's a really great director. I think he still does productions that are pretty true to, and he wants the voice to be the main object of the show. And he called me. He said, "You have to do Bohème with us," because I do Benoit and Alcindoro. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to do opera anymore. But he sucked me back in. And so now I'm getting more offers to do opera again, which I was, when I did it, it was a big success. And I really enjoyed the production and felt good to be back on stage in opera. Yeah, it really did.
Absolutely. Samuele, do you have any other little stories, some other background information?
None that can really be said at public.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
But I will say that we won't divulge the thing, but Kevin will be singing in Pittsburgh before the end of the year again.
Oh, okay. So,
Oh yeah. You'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I want to be the first one to hear.
Now this song you're going to play, this is the reason why I did this recording.
Yeah, and I was going to say, did you really do it your way? I think you did.
Beautifully.
So I didn't realize he started to play over you. I thought I was maneuvering the technology, but actually, okay. So let's give it a listen.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way.
Yeah, Viviana, that as you hear that's Christopher Vu on violin there from the Pittsburgh Symphony.
Well, how about we go into closing and we keep the music still playing, because I think this is not the end, this is the beginning. The beginning is just around the corner.
Oh, thank you.
But Viviana, as you can hear, when Kevin sings this, his voice projects, and that's really the training of an opera singer. They can do that.
So unfortunately, our time together for today is up, but il Big Band ha detto stop, and I do hope that you will consider coming back, and again, keep us in the loop of when the news of you performing in Pittsburgh is going to become public. We would love to come and support you. But it's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima, and we want to thank you for tuning in into the program. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any topics you would like us to address, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, subscribe to Italian Radio Hour on YouTube or where you catch your favorite podcasts. I was truly honored to have Kevin Glavin on the Italian Radio Hour. Samuele Bozzolla, you know, it's always a pleasure to have a chat. And our sponsors, L'Istituto Mondo Italiano and La Prima Espresso. And until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much.
Arrivederci.
Really appreciate it.
Ciao.
Yes,
Ciao.
it was my way.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, Viviana.